Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. We've got a great show here for you tonight. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Gabriel Pickup, and we're going to explore three areas tonight. First, we're going to have our weekly pick updates where we talk about recruiting. And second, we're going to talk about the Big Ten all-team watch list for 2025. And then third, we're going to preview the defense for 2025. We welcome your calls and comments as always. If you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Hey, let's get right to it, Gabe. Fourth edition of the pick updates. So, Gabe, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so it's very hot here in Pennsylvania. I don't know about you, Adam. So
very hot in Georgia.
I'm not outside because it's unbearable outside, as much as I would love to be. But, the birds are real. The outside is real regardless. Now, moving on to this list of pick updates for the sixth time, I believe. And let's start off with some positive news. Xavier Williams has committed to Rutgers, class of 2025, preferred walk-on. He committed to Air Force, but flipped. So I don't know if that counts as like a dishonorable discharge or what, but I'm happy to have him here. 5'9", 210 pounds. So to me, that screams power back.
All right, so are you talking about we have a preferred walk-on from the military?
Yeah.
I think he should go to Army or Navy, or he should just enlist right now, get him in infantry. I'm not convinced with a preferred walk-on who's 5'9", 210, but I could be wrong. So, hey, you never know. We might be talking about him in the future, so good start.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is we don't have a solidified power back right now. We have a solidified receiving back and a hybrid back, and we have a bunch of guys who can do everything, but no solidified power back. So maybe there's a spot for him on 4th and 1 or 3rd and 3, whatever it may be.
That's a good point. Well, wishing him best of luck, and hopefully he's going to become a Scarlet Knight.
Absolutely. So he had 313 attempts for 2,048 yards, 2,048, 26 touchdowns at Paramus Catholic High. So he's a local kid.
Oh, he's a local kid.
Yeah, does that change your opinion on him a little?
It sure does change my opinion. I went to Bergen Catholic. Paramus Catholic was a big rival, and when we played them in the state championship back when I was a senior in 1903, beat them 55-45. Starting quarterback for Paramus Catholic, Vito Campanelli. Starting quarterback for Bergen Catholic, future Major League ball player Mark DeRosa.
Well, it shows that 55-45, it shows that the offense was there.
The offense was there. The defense, I don't know what happened to them. But I was on a plane coming back from USC, actually, at the time. And so right when we landed, I called my uncle, and I thought he said 55-65, and I panicked. But he got it right. Bergen Catholic won it.
Yeah. So
this kid
up the same alley when it comes to the offense. Last year, he had 140 attempts for 949 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6.78 yards per carry, which as a power back is very impressive.
For
what's that?
Well, what for Paramus Catholic?
For Paramus, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was his senior year.
Paramus Catholic is Group 4. I mean, I don't know how they've characterized the leagues these days, but when I was there, it's 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is the most competitive, so he's getting those statistics against good competition.
Yeah. So, like I said, there might be a spot for him on this team. Will he see time as a freshman? I don't think so. I think it's a real shot in the dark that he sees any time, even garbage time. Our big three of backs are too dominant. Raymond, Campbell, Benjamin. You can even throw Samuel Brown in there. And not to be a Debbie Downer, but I could also see him transferring.
Hey, you're being a realist.
Exactly. I'm trying to learn a little bit from Adam Lamparella. But,
That's because I tell it like it is, and because I want to make Rutgers great again.
Well, we have a while to go before we
He's
can
a
say
funny guy.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said he's a funny guy, but you're breaking up a bit. There's a bit of a lull. I said I was referring to me sarcastically, saying he's a funny guy.
Yeah, debatable. But
all right. Way over your head, Gabe. Way over your head. Get rid of that heat's getting to you. Maybe you should go outside, all right? Get those marbles moving around.
All right. I have some 2-for-1 news here. Do you want the good news or bad news?
Your choice.
All right. I'll go with the bad news so we can end on a high note. The bad news, 3-star linebacker Justin J.J. Edwards, previously committed to Rutgers, has decommitted just 2 weeks afterwards and has flipped to Miami. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want you to have a temper tantrum, so I'll let you go away.
You did this on purpose. So first of all, we get Adam Shaw, who commits to Rutgers, and then about 2 minutes later leaves, and now we have another one.
Yep, we have another one.
So what happened in those 2 weeks? Where did they suddenly have some big, premonition or some big insight into life and its existential purposes? This is ridiculous. Both of them get lost. Good riddance. Now you got my blood pressure going up, and we're only 5 minutes into the show.
Well, I think South Beach was calling his name, and just like LeBron, he took his talents to Miami.
Well, maybe he can meet Carson Beck's girlfriend because she dumped him. So maybe it'll be a match made in heaven.
There's a little demon down in Miami that's been stealing some guys from Rutgers. We got Mo Toure going there, and now Mo Toure, it seems like he may have had a role in recruiting Justin Edwards because they're both linebackers, and captain of Rutgers probably says, "Hey, Rutgers is cool and all, but do you like year-round hot weather? And do you like a school with a dominant history? Do you like a school with the reigning Heisman come down to not Heisman, the reigning #1 quarterback come down to Miami?"
Okay. No, see, this isn't going to work because here's the thing. Miami, you are so yesterday. Okay, you were good in the 80s, even though Doug Flutie broke your heart on that Hail Mary pass for Boston College. Miami, you are so 80s, and the turnover chain is so passe. Not going to happen at Miami. I predict a 3-loss season for the Hurricanes.
Well, yeah, it's very.
I do love the people in South Beach. I'm very complimentary towards the aspiring models and anyway, go on.
It really feels like because I have some more decommitment news here. It feels like committing to Rutgers, it's almost like not a commitment. It's almost like saying, "Hey, I'm committed, but I still have my eyes open."
Yeah, and that's what bothers me, and I'm sure that's what's making Schiano's blood boil. Because it's like, when you apply to colleges, it's like, yeah, I'm going to apply to a safety school that I know that I'm going to get into, but I'm really hoping to go somewhere else. Rutgers football and Rutgers University shouldn't be treated like that. Rutgers' recruiting class ranked number 30 in the country ahead of some major Division I programs, okay? They've got real talent coming in, including transfer from Penn State and from UNLV. They were very competitive last year. Of course, we all know what Schiano did in his first stint. Rutgers is a place to be reckoned with, and they've placed people in the NFL, the latest being Kyle Monangai, who we think is going to compete for playing time. So yeah. Rutgers is not Rutgers isn't the second choice. All right, Rutgers isn't the date that you go on if the one you really wanted says no. And Schiano, I'm sure, is well aware of that and emphasizes that to his recruits.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, flipping is an unfortunate part of the game, but it just happens too much in Piscataway, especially for a program that's on the rise. But that's neither here or there. I mean, do you want to get into good news, or do you have anything else to say?
I just wanted to highlight Jason O's comments, and I see we have somebody who called into the show. Dan, we'll get to you after we do our Big Ten segment. Yeah, so Jason says, I told you guys the official visits are awesome and kids want to commit even if they really aren't likely to stick. First thing I'm wondering is, what is it about those official visits that's so amazing? I believe you 100%. I'm guessing it's the coaches and the relationships they build and the facilities and Greg Schiano, of course. And Schiano is strict about visiting other schools decommits will become. That's a good point.
Yeah, and Jason, I do have some more news about visiting. Perhaps it's what you were referring to here. But first, I want to talk about J.J. Edwards' replacement because it happened quick. Lucas Cochran, I believe that's how you say his last name, Cochran, 3-star linebacker. So it's a little 3 for 3 here. It's going to be J.J.'s replacement, commits just hours after J.J.'s announcement. So it seems like Schiano must have known ahead of time, but he was able to keep his foot on the pedal.
Yeah, and let me ask you something, Gabe. When we talk about these recruits, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, I've never seen like a comprehensive quantitative study, but I'd love to know over the past 20, 25 years how they ultimately panned out, because we place so much emphasis on the stars, but that doesn't tell us much about the individual player, that player's intangibles. So, you know, I don't take it's not that I take it with a grain of salt, but I think there's far more to the player and potential than just that metric.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? We were just talking about Miami. Cam Ward was a 0-star. In fact, that's literally the name of his I forget what platform it is. It's maybe Netflix, YouTube. There's
Okay.
a Cam Ward biopic, and it's called 0-star. And that's the whole premise of beating the system, right? You see it in the NBA with draft picks, in the NFL with UDFAs, in the MLB when it comes to being stuck in single A for 5 years and then coming up 7 years in and being an all-star. It's not it's not the end of the world to be a 0-star or even a 3-star, because 3-star is solid, but 3-star, that's like the 50-50 in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, look at where Tom Brady was drafted to the NFL. It gives these kids, at least an indication that you're not just, your star rating. And the way these kids develop, often from, their senior year of high school to their sophomore year of college, with weight gain, muscle mass, I mean, it's substantial. So,
yeah.
Sounds like we got some good news. Now, the last one was bad news or good news? Did you
So
say the best for last?
We have 2 more pieces of news. Again, one good, one bad. So in total, we gained 3 guys this week, and we lost 2 guys. So since I went with, you know what? Actually, I'm going to stick to the theme. I can't end on a bad note. So Riel Kelly flips from Rutgers to Bama. Freaking Jackson. He's probably going to gloat to me later about it. He flipped from Toledo to us. So to me, it's like, make up your mind. It was an honorable 2 weeks. I feel like you should only be allowed 1 flip, and you really shouldn't even be allowed to flip after you commit.
Wait, he flipped more than once? He flipped from where did he go from? Where was he first?
From Toledo to us, and now he's flipping from us to Bama. I'm not saying Bama isn't worth flipping to, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be allowed to do this after committing, signing papers, making a meal plan, whatever it is. There should be a way around this. It really doesn't benefit anyone but the top programs. And they already get enough help, especially with the new laws being passed to help kind of give them their break.
Yeah, because where do they flip to? They don't flip to lower ranked schools. They flip to the top schools in the country. And with this new settlement that was signed, all it's going to mean is that the schools with the wealthiest money are going to get the best players. So now Jason O says 3. Yeah, there's something wrong with that, and I quite frankly, given that he was at Toledo, then Rutgers, then Bama, I think it's going to be hard for him to see the field in Tuscaloosa. But
I mean, he must have been given some sort of guarantee that they're thinking about him long term, right? Even if he's not being on there the first year, there must have been some sort of guarantee that he's in their future. Because to me, this is what's so annoying about flipping. First, you commit, right? But you also give other schools the, hey, here's the boundary of NIL money, of where we prioritize these guys in terms of our depth chart. Try and beat us. And obviously the bigger programs are going to be able to beat you. So it's like you have to make sure that these guys that you're getting, whether they're 3 stars, 4 stars, that they're loyal.
Yeah, and I got to tell you something else, Gabe. When I think about this, I think about how really, really, I don't want to say unpleasant, but how less satisfying coaching must be in this era. Coaches just can't coach. They've got to spend all their time, almost a disproportionate amount of time on recruiting, on keeping players, on dealing with NIL. It doesn't seem like it's as fun of a job as it may have been, say, when Lou Holtz was, leading the Irish in 1988.
That's a fair point. And I have one more piece of news here. Well, I have one piece of news and something that's not official but fun to talk about anyways before we get on to the Big Ten list is cornerback Cannon Marshall, which beautiful name, has committed to Rutgers, reclassifying from 2026 to 2025. So he wants to be an instant impact guy, 6'2", 185 pounds. So to me, that screams slot cornerback or nickelback, whatever you want to call it. Because he's speedy, but he's also tall enough. He went to prep school, so I found that very interesting. And I'm excited to see what he brings to the table, not just this next year if he does play at all, but especially moving forward. I really think he can be here all 4 years.
I agree with you, and it seems like the type of player that Rutgers wants, and that Rutgers will develop effectively. The time has arrived for people to stop looking at Rutgers as a second choice school or as a mediocre football institution or university, because that's not true. And that's why I think you're seeing more recruits from better places and from other states like Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Pennsylvania. You're seeing a broadening of the recruiting and an increase in the number of 4-stars. Bodes well for Rutgers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this isn't a commitment, but 2027 athlete/wide receiver, which to me says he plays wide receiver but is open to other positions. Javier Robinson, 4-star recruit, had the following to say after visiting Rutgers. So, Jason, this goes back to your point earlier. Robinson says, quote, Rutgers is definitely at the top right now. I love what's going on up there. So he's one of the highest recruited wide receivers I can think of for that class. So the names don't pop off the charts when you look at our competition, which it's really like glass half empty, half full. It's good and bad. But schools recruiting him are us, Temple, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and others.
Yes, I think two things come out here. If you look at the quotes from the players who are committing, they all kind of have the same theme. Rutgers is going places, and Rutgers has a great future. Number two, this is, I think, the second. I think we've had 2 recruits so far in this cycle that have turned down Alabama, turned down Auburn, turned down Georgia to come here. And that's not something that regularly happened in the past. So Coach Schiano's got something special brewing. He's got a great coaching staff. And if this keeps going the way it's going, you're going to see some big surprises. And I would submit in the miracle season of 2026, maybe even a playoff berth.
Yes. You know what? I can see it, and I'm with you 100%. And Burks, we're going to get to your call-in just a second. We have one more segment to go about here. And I just wanted to see what this says real quick. Over decommitments, but the coaches fully expect some kids. Yeah, I mean, it's just, they know more than we do behind the scenes. But when you hear the word commit, you think like, oh, he's signed with this NBA team, this NFL team. And so you don't see guys in professional leagues flipping. You'll see it once or twice every few years. But in college, it happens like to 1 or 2 players on every freaking organization every year.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I know like when people apply to colleges, right, they have something called an early admission period where if you apply early admission and you're accepted, you must go there. Then they have the regular admission cycle. Could we do something like that in recruiting?
I mean, I don't see why it can't be done. I mean, here's the thing, right? All applications are done via the same method. It's just the recruiting that's different.
You got to give these coaches some semblance of stability, though. I mean, it's just some ability to, not constantly be worrying about the person who committed. Are they going to decommit 12 days later, 2 weeks later? What schools are offering more money? It's like a free-for-all. And I think there should be at least a better balance.
Yeah, I see you. I see what you're saying. All right, so with that being said, the next segment I have here, because this kind of falls outside of pickup dates. I saw this on X from the Rutgers football account.
Well, before we get on to the second segment,
sure.
This is the 4th edition of pickup dates, so it's Gabe's 1-month anniversary of pickup dates. So happy anniversary, Gabe. I can see that light behind you. It looks like the heavens are shining very brightly upon you. Well deserved.
Oh, yeah. So, I was going to clap it, but it's kind of somehow being evasive to my hands. Interesting.
And we are going to be selling shirts in the future. We're in the process of designing shirts that say Rutgers football pickup dates. So it's going to be something special.
Absolutely. Better coin it. So Rutgers football on X released a list from Phil Steele, who is a former ESPN insider, who has 5 Scarlet Knights in his preseason All Big Ten watch list. So let's talk about why we agree or disagree and if anyone is missing.
With these 5, so when he's saying 5 on his All Big Ten watch list, is he talking about that he's predicting they'll be first?
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, we might have some breaking news here. Hold on. I gotta look into this. Jason says Rutgers got a commit from a 6'6" DL from Florida a few hours ago.
Jason, awesome news. Thank you so much for that.
Hold on.
Awesome.
Jackson sent me something earlier. Oh, okay. Reese Beck I think that's who you're talking about.
Nice.
Reese Beck. Let's do a deep dive into Reese Beck real quick. Reese Beck. Ponte Vedra High School. Committed to us. Was recruited by Oregon State, UConn, Bowling Green, and Colorado State per 247 Sports.
That's fantastic.
No official visit with us. Visited with Oregon State and UConn. He's a 3-star. Looks like his rankings could be a little better, but I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But it just looks kind of ugly. 163rd D lineman, 165th Florida prospect. 6'5", 250 pounds, like you said, Jason.
Well, I'll tell you, what's attractive about that? Size and development. He's got the size.
Yeah.
And so he's got the measurables, and that's some more great news. So I cannot wait for the season to start. How far are we away now? About 9 weeks.
If Jackson were here, he'd be able to give us the day to a T.
I think we can estimate about 9 weeks, but hey, it's going to be an amazing season. Now, this second segment, you have this. Yeah. So is he predicting who's going to be on the first team All Big Ten?
He's just predicting who will be on a team.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So for context, the first team last year saw Kyle Monangai. Second team saw Holland Pierce, and nobody from Rutgers was on the third team. So no Longer Beam, no Callie McManus, no Duffer Strong, none of that. So you got to be above and beyond if you want to be on one of these teams. You can't just be good. So keeping that in mind, let's get into this. Because if every team were equal talent, we would have a 1 in 6 chance at every position. Right. So the first guy he has on a team is CJ Campbell Jr. I want to hear what you have to say first, and I'm probably going to agree with you.
As far as him being on the I'm not convinced yet. I think he has a tremendous amount of promise. He had some great games, at FIU against Charlotte. He ran for 150 yards. Against UNC, broke the 100-yard mark. But, again, he was playing for FIU. And before I'm convinced, I need to see more. And so I'm going to say no at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I disagree with Mr. Phil Steele. I think too many reps are going to be given to other players, especially in the first 3 to 4 weeks versus lower-level opponents. So I think because of lack of repetition, he's not going to make the list.
Agreed.
So next up, we have DT Sheffield, and for this one, I agree he will be on the list. I think he transferred here to be an instant impact player. He's a senior. I think even though Duff and Strong are great and they had solid years last year, I think DT is going to be our number 1 option. And DT said himself that the dynamic between him and Callie McManus is one to look forward to, and he's shooting for big numbers. He said he wants 10-plus touchdowns, 1,000-plus yards, 100-plus receptions. Or I don't think, maybe it wasn't 100. No, it wasn't 100. It was less than that. But the other two were factual, and I agree with this. I think he will be on a team.
Well, I love DT Sheffield. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he did some special things at North Texas. He's fast. He's quick, smart. But at this point, I'm going to once again have to say no, and I don't mean it in any disrespectful way, but I'm not saying it won't happen.
So what if I told you that there are 2 wide receivers per first, second, and per team? So there's six wide receivers will be on a team.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit. I don't want to say skeptical. I think it's very possible, but the reason I'm not at a yes just yet, and again, I mean no disrespect, is number one, how's Ethan Callie McManus' year going to go? Well, one of the things we talked about was some great games, great arm, awesome team player, has the grit, but consistency in completing passes. We saw games where it dipped below the 60% mark and generally was around 60% on a consistent basis. That's number one. So for DT to be on, the All Big Ten team, Ethan's got to play a very complimentary role in that. Number two, Shiano is a running back. He's a run first type of coach, and so I don't know if he's going to amass the statistics that are going to justify it. And number three, we got KJ Duffy and Strong and Ben Black. So there's other.
Yeah.
So I think there's other variables.
I was going to say Famad Toure, but he had that season-ending injury.
Yeah, I know, right? Unbelievable. So I would say possible, but at this point, I would not. And again, DT, don't kill me. I think you're amazingly talented, but I just think there's too many uncertainties.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: will he make it as a return man? Because he's listed as our starting kickoff returner and punt returner, and he was averaging 11 yards per return via the punt. That is, I mean, when you talk about punt returns on average, it's like 5 or 6. I think he can definitely make it as a return guy, if not.
I would say, again, I'm not sure, and there's one reason for that. Where he's playing competition that's substantially improved, he's certainly on that level, maybe even better. But I think, how good has Rutgers' return game traditionally been? Not very good. Possible. All I'll say is this. The sky's the ceiling for DT Sheffield. But at this point, given the uncertainty in other areas that really don't have anything to do with him, I would say not yet.
Okay. And again, that makes sense because, like I said, we had a lot of standout guys last year and only 2 guys made the teams. So that's nothing against these guys. It's just it's really just to show how good the Big Ten is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next guy, 3rd out of 5 on Mr. Steele's list, is Kobe or Kwamani Asamoah. Asamoah? I think it's Asamoah. I'm going to disagree, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't think he's even the most likely offensive lineman to be on this list. And I will get into that later when we talk about who should be or could be. What about you? Adam.
Yeah. So you Gabe, you're freezing a little bit, cutting out, but we're good now. So I think, honestly, I don't know enough about him to bring me to a yes. So I just, like you said, I don't even know if this stuff they have. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that's valid. Next guy, and it's unfortunate, right? Because there's not too many statistics you can look at for an offensive line. So it's tough to do research. You really just have to watch film to get an understanding.
So, yeah, my no is not because of any criticism. It's more from ignorance.
Jason does bring up a good point.
So Jason, I do.
So I mean,
that's promising. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I don't want to interrupt you. You got it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because you're breaking up a little bit. No, all I was going to say is Jason obviously knows more about Asamoah than I do, and if he was honorable mention All Big Ten last year, that bodes well for him this year. And again, I think it also comes down to is how does that offensive line gel as a unit? Offensive lines, in my experience, they're not one of those things where you can have one standout guy and who just plays amazing, because the quality of their play depends on how cohesive they are as a unit. So I think, again, my answer would be possibly, but if I had to choose yes or no, I'd say no at this point. But again, more from ignorance than from expertise.
Yeah, that's fair. And this next guy, I think we are going to both agree on. Eric O'Neill, I agree he will be on this list. He came via JMU, and he was actually put on the preseason Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year watch list. So if he's on that, you should by default be one of the top 3 at your position in the Big Ten.
Eric O'Neill for me is a big yes. 13 sacks to lead James Madison in 2024. He's a player. Yes.
Yes, 100%. Him and Doug Blue Eli are going to be an amazing tandem.
Yeah.
I don't have Doug Blue Eli on my list, but I do think that they're a great one too. And this next one is Mr. Phil Steele's last guy on the list. I was kind of 50-50 on. I'm leaning towards no. Now, I actually have on my list that he will make it, Daryl Jabome, but I don't think he will anymore because of how tight the window is for getting onto this list. We have no more Motoré, and it is Daryl Jabome's defense now in terms of him being the mid linebacker. So he is sort of the anchor of that middle unit, but I think our strengths are elsewhere. I think our strength is in the front four and in the secondary. I don't think that our strength is linebacker.
Okay, well, you make some good points there. For me, he's a yes. And the reason I think so is he's fast, he's smart, knows the scheme inside and out, and he's a tackling machine. He is going to lead that linebacking core. And, the defensive line, there's still a question. Is this defensive line going to be able to get to the quarterback? How are they going to be against the run? I think he's going to I think he's going to lead Rutgers in tackles, and I think he's going to keep them close in games against some of the nation's top teams. So I see him as a pretty essential member of that defensive unit, and based on his prior performances, I'm gonna go with a yes. We'll see.
Yeah.
And
I mean, do you think that him being a junior instead of a senior will play a role into it?
no, I don't think so, because I think if anything, it's better that he's a junior than he's a senior. I might have a little bit different perspective if he's a senior because, I don't know if this is true or not, but when you're a senior and you're eyeing the NFL, are you still playing with that same hunger, or are you trying to protect yourself from getting injured? Whereas
I hear you. I think it's the opposite. I think it's your last.
Yeah.
You want to put on your best performance, at least if you transfer all over the place. Not that Jabome did, but if you transfer all over the place, you want to prove that it's bigger than the program.
Yeah, but you know what? How many of those seniors opt out in those bowl games? I don't see many juniors opting out. But it could go either way. So I guess my opinion would be, it's not significant of a difference to matter.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Jabome was 13 last year as a sophomore, it does say a lot.
Yeah, he's just a stud. I just see him as somebody who has those intangibles that you can't teach, that common sense, like vision on the field. And that's something that I think brings him to a second team All Big Ten.
All right, fine. You've convinced me. You know what? You and Jason both convinced me because I was 50-50 on it. I was tough on the criteria. I didn't want to say yes to every guy if we only got 2 last year and then have some honorable mentions that I think would be on it. Because there are some honorable mentions, and Jason, you're right. I think I read that he's a junior, and I got confused. So wait, it says here on OurLads.com, and this is updated because it says O'Neill's a senior, Blue Eli's a senior, so on, but it says Jabome's a junior. So I'm not sure. We'll have to get back to that. But yeah. Anyways, you guys have convinced me. He is an amazing tackler. I think our run game is going to be fine. I'm really looking forward to the pass rush and the pass coverage. But I guess if it's fine, then that might be enough for Jabome if he's the one getting all the tackles.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to be interesting to discuss amongst some of our points when we preview the defense for 2025. So this was a great discussion to end our second segment here. I think
I wanted to get into some honorable mentions.
Oh, we can't forget the honorable mentions. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. The ones who were so close yet so far away. The ones that you say, well, close only counts in horseshoes. Just a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. So honorable mention. Who we got?
Yeah. So he didn't mention these 2 names, and I think one of these names is certainly going to be on the list, and another one could be on the list. Ty Needham, who I foreshadowed earlier as being the guy that I believe is closer to the All Big Ten list, it's him rather than Asamoah. I think Ty Needham is going to be on the list. He has been moved all over the place. They were even thinking of throwing him at tight end for a little bit, but I think that's because he is a jack of all trades as opposed to where does he fit. I love his fit anywhere on this front line, and I think no matter what, he's going to have a stellar year. And he's going to be one of the reasons that our offensive line continues to be looked at as one of the top in the nation and top in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you something, Gabe. I've got two actual additional names that I think should have been on that list that were omitted. Anybody that that you think should have been on that wasn't?
Yeah, there's one guy I think absolutely should have been on that wasn't, and we might be
I
reading
think
each
we're
other's
thinking the
minds.
same thing right here.
3, 2, 1. Cam Miller.
Miller.
Yeah,
Yes. This is called chemistry, folks.
absolutely. And shout out Ethan. He could be, but it's a stretch. But definitely Cam Miller. And honorable mentions also, besides Callie McManus, is Antoine Raymond. But the thing with Raymond, I think it's the same issue as Campbell.
Just gonna say him.
I just think it's the same issue as Campbell. Doesn't get enough carries. But I'll let you give your reasons too.
So that's a really legitimate concern that they're going to cancel each other out. But I think that there is room for both of them in that backfield. Raymond is he is someone who runs angry, man. He's physical, fast, and you got to love those kind of backs. I think he's going to be the starting. And what?
Monangai Jr. maybe.
Yeah, I think he may win the starting job, or at least be the co-number one. And then Jason knows as Westfield guy, Brian Felter finished his career with Smart. Yeah, and I lived in Westfield for about 5 years. Love that town, right next to Cranford. Great area of the Garden State.
Cool. So you want to get into Cam Miller, or I feel like we've talked about how much we love.
Because I have one little issue I have with Cam Miller is this.
Sure.
And it's not a specific issue that I have specifically with him. Are we getting tempted too much by the fact that he played at Penn State?
It's possible.
I'm wondering if I'm getting, because, what I think he was good at Penn State. I think he's going to be a standout at Rutgers. But what's going to determine how good he is going to come against those games against Oregon, Penn State. That's where I think we're going to see the Rutgers players. They're going to separate the men from the boys in terms of who's going to be in the All Big Ten list. But I would say yes for him at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think so. You look at the stats, right? He has 27 tackles last year, 4 tackles for loss. He has a sack, 5 pass deflections. He doesn't have an interception yet, but that to me, that's not to compare him to Revis or something like that too much, but it might be because he's not getting enough balls thrown his direction. It doesn't have to come down to not catching the ball.
I think you are 1,000% right, and I'll make an analogy about that one. People say, "Oh, he didn't have enough interceptions." It reminds me of when people say, "This player didn't get enough sacks." Well, it doesn't matter if the player got any sacks. What matters is the player pressure the quarterback and throw off the quarterback's timing. So I think stats like sacks, interceptions, to me are misleading.
Yeah, and also, do you game plan your entire team to avoid having to face them? Like, do you throw a triple team at a certain guy, or do you purposely line Cam Miller up against someone that you don't throw it to? I think he's going to be on this list 100%.
I think he gives Rutgers the ability to play more man coverage.
Exactly, that too. And yeah, so that's everyone I have for the honorable mentions.
That's great stuff. No, that's awesome discussion. Absolutely. Once again, Gabe comes through with a fantastic segment. And before we go to our third segment on the defense, we got a couple of callers.
Austin. Both of our teams ended up in Cancun. All right, buddy?
Where's Austin? Austin, the Denver Nuggets will be moving to Massachusetts, moving operations to Massachusetts. Enjoy it while it lasts. Okay, Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for calling, buddy. I see a truck. Are you in that truck?
No, I'm not in the truck, first of all, Adam. And second of all, how are we doing tonight, fellas?
Doing great. Thanks so much for calling. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I made one point specifically clear that I think everybody knows. The girls in South Beach know how to steal hearts. And, well, I've kind of stolen a couple hearts of those girls in South Beach while I was there last week.
Literally.
But I'm not going to say names, but I'm just going to say, let's just say those ladies really got hot after I was there. Let's just say that.
Okay, well, now this is turned from PG to PG-13.
I'm gonna leave it up to Gabe to think about think about what the heck happened. Oh, and Burks, our favorite little Wolverine, Berkey boy. Yes, I was near South Beach last week, and I was with some ladies from South Beach last week while on vacation. But I'll tell you what, it was so nice to get away near South Beach last week. I mean, unbelievable.
I've never been.
Well, you're lucky you're not there now because it's probably boiling out there.
I'm in Georgia.
Oh, no. Actually, the weather was nice and the pools were nice in South Beach, and I'm back home in Ohio. Just enjoying the weather, the cool weather. And honestly, I can say I cannot complain.
It's cool by you? It's 100 degrees in Pennsylvania.
Listen, buddy, I'm used to the summers in here, son, so I'm good.
Yeah, well, it's about 95 here, and it feels like it's about 605. I mean, it's
Oh, well, speaking of which, our favorite buddy, Berkey boy, Burks. What's going on, dude? Did you not drink your coffee this morning or something, or what? Come on, man. Jeez. I think the problem is, fellas, Burks is just jealous that I'm that talented. Okay, I am the most hated Ohio State fan on this planet, but I mean, come on. I at least got enough skill to be talking to some ladies, all right?
All right, what's on your mind? What's on your mind football related?
Yeah, you're a funny guy, but we got the calls piling up, so we want to get these points in as expeditiously as we can. So talk to us, Ohio State fan.
Well, the calls are piling up because I'm on the show, because everybody's like, I'm crazy. Everybody's calling me names on social media. I've seen Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I've seen everybody from Burks, Austin, Jackson, Jeffrey. I've seen everybody jealous of me and what I call on here. So I have heard everybody's comments, and I'm like,
we're
come
glad,
on now.
Well, we're glad you showed up. We're going to move on to our next caller. Burks, give him a chance to voice his opinion, but keep calling in and go back to South Beach, have some fun, and well, I'll say it on your behalf. Go Buckeyes. That's okay. So that's our first caller. Always entertaining callers, a diverse array of people with different types of humor, and we respect all different individuals. And now Burks gets his chance to voice his opinion.
All right.
Michigan House.
Man, I'm so happy you guys end that really quickly, man. Like you did yourself a favor. You did myself a favor. So appreciate it. But I'm really curious, man. I'm really curious, man. Man, how do you like this class? I love it because there's no New Jersey people. There's only like one guy from New Jersey.
One guy.
I'm like the biggest New Jersey hater. So I don't know which recruit it is, but only one guy's from New Jersey. Rest are like from Pennsylvania or New York So how do you like the class right now? It's like a top 10 class. You like it, or do you guys feel like you need to improve?
I don't think you're the biggest New Jersey hater. I think the biggest New Jersey hater is Chief Keef, who famously said he's going to blow New Jersey up. But
oh, really?
Considering that song was put out 13-ish years ago now, I think we're all right. There's bigger threats out there, especially nowadays. But I digress. I love this class. I love how diverse it is with where these prospects are coming from. The fact that we got 2 top 10 Pennsylvania prospects is mind-blowing to me. The only school that got more is Penn State, which makes perfect sense. And one of the guys we got, actually, he goes to school just around the block from where I'm located at South College High School. So that's very cool. And when you look at where we're going to get these guys, I forget his name, but there's one coordinator, and Jason, I'm sure you know his name because you have your knowledge up. But there's one coordinator that's been recruiting the hell out of North Carolina and Virginia, that area. And I love the guys we're getting from the southeastern coast.
Isaiah Deloach is coming in from North Carolina at linebacker, 3-star. But look,
Scott Vallone, exactly.
Scott Vallone, yeah. And so the 2026 class ranked 30th in the country. The 2025 class ranked 30th in the country. I believe we were top 15, maybe even top 10 in transfer portal. So what I'm seeing from the recruits is predominantly 3 stars. We're starting to get more 4 stars from a diverse number of states. Like we talked about, the guy from Georgia who had an offer from Kirby Smart coming to Piscataway. We have players from North Carolina. We got players from Florida.
We got guys coming from Georgia that are choosing us over Georgia.
And 2 of the recruits that committed to Rutgers and are firm on Rutgers rejected Alabama, Oklahoma State. So if we're going to compete in the Big Ten, those are the inroads we got to make, Burke. So I think it's happening slowly but surely. But I don't think we're there yet. I still think we go into Columbus and probably lose by 17 to 21 points. But I do think in the first half it's going to be competitive, and that's where I think we are. I think we're good enough to be competitive with the best teams, but to sustain it over a whole game, I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah.
Jason,
I'm rooting for you guys to have a good season like every year, because it's just like, shout out to you guys for even having a Rutgers channel, because Rutgers is like it makes no sense. It has such a big alumni and it's so many like students, but like the football program, man, is like nowhere to be found.
Yes.
Like even in New York, like when I lived in Albany in the capital, it's like nobody was a Rutgers fan. It was like crazy. And then like even in New York City when I go, and visit, I hardly see any Rutgers at all, So
Makes no sense.
I give a shout out to you guys for running a Rutgers channel and being really knowledgeable and talking about this stuff,
Thanks so much, Burks. We really appreciate that.
We appreciate it. And also, like we've talked about how like there's too much population in the Northeast for Rutgers not to be dominant, but then there's also a lack of other schools. I mean, Rutgers is the football school of New Jersey, but then like New York only really has Syracuse, and Pennsylvania only really has Penn State, at least in this half of Pennsylvania. There's Pitt, obviously, but there's not too many dominant Northeastern schools.
And I think when I went to Bergen Catholic from 89 to 93, and I think for much of Rutgers history, it was not considered a competitive football program. And, I don't think it had a great following as a result. Certainly some loyal fans, but Rutgers was not considered relevant. Now Rutgers is considered relevant because, in my opinion, Greg Schiano, I think he single-handedly has built a foundation that is attracting players because of the program, its development, its placement of players in the NFL, and because the university has really improved and is a top-notch educational institution.
What's crazy is that, like New Jersey, so I'm a biggest New Jersey hater. I'm a New York, obviously. I've always liked New York better. And but Adam's my favorite New Jersey guy. But like I was saying, right, it's just that, like, New Jersey's a really good high school state when it comes to recruiting. Like, really good. Like, we got, for Michigan, man, me being a Michigan fan, Rashawn Gary, #1 recruit, New Jersey. Jabril Peppers, man, New Jersey. It makes no sense how
you can throw Saquon in there. Saquon, he didn't grow up entirely in New Jersey, but he was born there, and he was he was living there for the first several years of his life. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So it's like it makes no sense how like there's so many people who come from New Jersey, good recruits, but they just don't ever choose Rutgers. It seems, like. It's like this is like the opposite of like I guess New Jersey has like a curse and like the recruits doesn't want to go to the state school, like that's like I feel like that's the only problem there,
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think from the perspective of schools like Bergen Catholics, Don Bosco, St. Joe's, they do have a lot of players that are getting recruited by Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State. In the past, Rutgers was not considered competitive in that mix, but I think now Rutgers has become relevant. So you might be seeing, in fact, I think you will be seeing more players from New Jersey commit to the Scarlet Knights.
So I think the problem, and Adam, you can correct me and curse at me off the show if you'd like, if I'm wrong. But
no, I'll curse at you on the show. That's just fine.
Fair enough. So speaking with people that live in New Jersey, because I went to school in New Jersey, the issue behind this might lie in the fact that New Jersey at least from people my age, is viewed as a starter state. You're born and raised there, and when you get your wings, you want to fly somewhere else.
That's so. It's so interesting that you said that, and I'll tell you why. Because when I graduated high school, I went to USC, and I was across the country, and I currently work in Georgia, and I've worked in a few different states. But now, New Jersey is my favorite state by far. Having been around, I could see why people see it as a starter state, but for me, it's more of an ending point. And it's something about New Jersey that just as a native, there's no other better place to live, in my opinion.
Well, let's hope the natives see it that way.
I'm probably one of the few, but you could take person out of New Jersey. You can't take New Jersey out of a person.
Hey Jason, my grandma lives in Westchester County, so I go there usually
As
when I
do
visit
I.
New York. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Westchester
try buying
County,
a house in North Jersey. I mean, the smallest house is going for $500,000-600,000. You got property taxes. I mean, it's a very hard place to start, and it's a hard place to stay because, like you said, why not go to Florida? Why not go somewhere else? But I just think the New Jersey vibe is something. I don't know. I know Jason O's going to hate this, but you'll never get Seaside Heights out of my blood.
What else is on your mind?
And then I just wanted to say, like, what was I saying? You guys have a Discord, you two?
So we don't have a Discord yet, but there is a Voice of College Football Discord. Let me see if I can find the link for that, and I can drop it.
Because I'm running a Big Ten 10. So I live in Chicago, right? And there's this thing called Big Ten 10K, and I think one of the guests is Kyle Montaguy, who's gonna be there on the Bears. So like,
Wow.
if I could, like, I would love to help. Like, he make a video and I send it to you guys, and he promotes the Voice of College Football Rutgers. I think that'd be pretty cool, man.
That'd be fantastic, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, dude. He comes in and he's like, "Hey, man, I need to promote something for these Rutgers guys. They're like really chill people, man, and they're like, because I respect Rutgers fans just because they're like they're like, they're like Bigfoot, right? That you can't find them anywhere. You can't find them in Chicago. You can't find even in New York. They're hard to find, man. Like I'm not even lying with you. So, like it'd be cool because I think he's a guest. If I meet him, man. I'll make a little video and then I'll send it. If I have it, one of you guys give me your contacts and I can send it to you.
We sure will.
I'm putting my Twitter handle here in the comments.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you would like, you can private message me on Twitter.
Yeah, man. I think it'd be cool to promote. I'll try and find him. Hopefully he's the guy. I think he's the guy coming. Him and Colson Loveland are, I think, both of the guys coming to the Big Ten too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm running it. I run them all the time. Last year Roma Dunze was the guy. Representing Huskies obviously when they joined the Big Ten. But but that's all I wanted to say, man. I just was just your take, your opinion on the recruits you guys like and how none of them are coming in. Yeah. So
yeah,
all right, take care, my man.
Thanks so much for being here for your support of the channel, man. We appreciate you.
They're all welcome here, but we're always
course,
going to give our honest opinion.
Of course, I love it, man. You guys are doing good stuff. Take care.
Thank you so much. All right, that's Burks. Burks, thanks for the call. Great comments, and always appreciate support for Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. So we're going to turn now, Gabe, to our final segment. And there's a few, key points here. The defense for 2025. I think, when we look at, in this segment, the defense for Rutgers for 2025, in my view, is going to determine how this season goes in terms of wins and losses and potential postseason play. Because I'm pretty confident, I don't know about you, that the offense is going to do its thing for the most part.
Yeah, there will be weeks where it looks stagnant, but all in all, I think the least amount of points we'll have is like 13. So they'll always give us at least a small chance, even if it's against the crazy schools.
Yeah, I think the offense in about 75% of the games is going to play well enough to win if the defense can match their, I don't want to say productivity essentially, and quality and performance. So, what are the key factors for Rutgers? I think there's three. Number one, that defensive line. The defensive line, I think the defense, rises and falls with the defensive line. So when we look back last year, Rutgers is only returning 6.5 sacks of production from last year's defensive line. And that was led by Jordan Walker with 4 sacks, Jordan Thompson, and Keshawn Griffin. But as you alluded to before, the additions are incredible. Eric O'Neill, James Madison, 13 sacks and 24. Bradley Weaver from Ohio, 8.5 sacks to led the Bobcats.
We don't talk about Bradley Weaver enough on this channel either.
I agree. Yeah, and then Doug Blue Eli, as you said before, from South Florida. And I don't know how to pronounce this player's last name, but he's worth mentioning for sure. Daryl or something from James Madison. So there's also, we got 3 returning defensive linemen that played in 10 games last year, Zaire Angoy, DJ Allen, and Jabril Abdur-Rahman. So there's depth there.
Yeah, and the thing is, you mentioned Jordan Thompson, and he's coming back, and he was one of our leaders on the D-line last year, and now he's not even projected to start. As long as we stay healthy, he's not projected to start.
That tells you something about the quality upgrades that we've made on the defensive line. So the good news is it seems like there's been an upgrade in talent, and there's a lot of depth. The question is, it's still a patchwork of transfers. Can they play well together and develop the kind of cohesion, and chemistry to be a really one powerful functioning unit? What are your thoughts?
They can definitely be a functioning unit. I was just responding to Ignacio about the receiving core. But in terms of the defensive line, they can certainly hold their own. I don't think – because the thing is, I don't think that an injury bug to the defensive line would even hinder it that greatly. Because we have some very good talent like Eric O'Neill. Say Eric O'Neill goes down. That's a big hindrance because of the drop-off. But anywhere else, any of the guys go down, and you got Jordan Walker, Keshawn Griffin, Zaire Angoy to a lesser degree, and Jordan Thompson, who are all proven – to be capable of playing on a Big Ten football field.
Well, so you got what? You got 10 players who have significant experience.
And we got Oliver Biotti too recently, who he's he doesn't have any gameplay that's really astounding, no sacks last year, but that's another body, especially for defensive tackle.
Well, here's the thing though. If you're 10-man deep on the defensive line, that's gonna allow us to be fairly fresh for most of the game, especially in the all-important fourth quarter. But one person I think that's worth mentioning, and we want to welcome Sean Bryant, otherwise known as Spaz from the movie Meatballs, to the show. Fantastic guy, an Oregon Duck fan who's going to be hanging with us in New Jersey in October when the Ducks come and try to quack in the Shea Stadium, or what some people say is SHI Stadium.
How do you know this guy? It sounds like he's got some good info.
Sean is a fantastic contributor to the Oregon Ducks at the Voice of College Football.
Okay. So I should know him too, but I only see the other account from Oregon on here.
Well, he didn't invite you.
Scoring with Ben and Sam?
You weren't invited.
Sean, come on, man. You got to invite me.
It's a Field of Dreams reference. Here's the thing I just want to say about defensive line. Yeah, it's critical. Yeah, they got to function as a unit. Yeah, they got experience. Well, I'm looking at one person, Doug Blue Eli. Doug Blue Eli played at South Florida. Okay, I think he was nose tackle and times defensive tackle. South Florida played in Tuscaloosa against Jalen Milroe and the Alabama Crimson Tide. When I look at some of the transfers, I see James Madison, Ohio. Not to criticize the players, but just to raise the question, is there a competition gap that may manifest when they go against better competition and reduce their productivity?
Not for O'Neill. For Denegohi, maybe. I don't think there's a chance for O'Neill when every expert is saying he's going to have an amazing year with us, because those, like, 13 sacks is still 13 sacks. I mean, if he's in a lower level competition, the game plan is to double team him.
Yeah.
And he's breaking through that, especially because with the front line, it's never going to be 5-on-5. It's either a 4-3 or a 3-4 versus 5 offensive linemen plus tight ends and running backs in certain schemes. So I don't think it's an issue with O'Neal, because he was the guy, and every expert is saying he's going to have this incredible year with us.
Okay, fair point. And I think the defensive line is what sets up everything, because the number one thing for the defensive line, they got to get to the quarterback with 4 and do so at a reasonably consistent pace, because if they can do that, that gives us so much more flexibility to play some man coverage, and, it's going to make it harder on offenses let me put it to you this way. We're not going to have to stack the box or put extra men in the box, okay, to try to get pressure, leaving our corners, vulnerable. So it's about, can those 4 down linemen get pressure consistently on third down? Number 2, can we stop the run? And I think that's where the linebackers are going to play a critical part here, and why Jabome is going to be so effective. What do you think our prospects are of being, a solid run defense?
Solid, definitely a good chance. I don't think that the rush is necessarily what we're going to be great at. I think we're looking at so it's funny, right? Because on offense, we're going to be run first, even with these great receiving weapons. But on defense, I think we're going to be looking to stop the pass. And so teams are going to be having those 7-8 yard rushes against us a little more than we should expect, or a little more than we would like, rather. But the trade-off is that we're having a pass defense that's maybe top 5 in the Big Ten. So to me, the rush defense, that might be a little pedestrian.
Yeah, my only concern about that is, if you're not getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, the defense, the secondary, no matter how good, is ultimately, they're going to break down. You can't cover people, for 5-6 seconds, especially elite wide receivers. And number 2, if the run defense is not effective, we're going to be looking at games where we're losing the time of possession battle, and we're setting up play action for the opposing team. And against teams like Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State, that could be deadly. So
yeah,
I think Rutgers goes as the defensive line goes, and I'm hoping that we don't get it into a situation where we have to create pressure through the blitz. Remember Illinois. It's going to be a step forward. It's got to happen, or I don't think it's going to happen. I think the difference between a 6-win season and an 8-win season, possibly a 9-win season, are the defensive linemen.
I mean, that's the difference in terms of the identity. But I think the X factor is Jabome, because you're looking at the reins being transferred from, and again, this is no diss to the other linebackers, but you're looking at Mo Toure leaving, and now all of this pressure is on Jabome to have a fantastic year with us. He's really the only linebacker that you look at and you say, this guy is going to be not instant impact, but like a problem that you're going to have to game plan against if you're the offense. Moses Walker to a lesser degree, Moses Walker to a lesser degree. But it really comes down to Jabome, because to me, that's the X factor. That's the unknown. I think everything else is, what they're bringing to the table. With the linebacker core, you don't know.
Yeah, and that's what really scares me. You want to know why? Because if Jabome gets injured, we're going to run into the same
problem. We cannot be injured at linebacker. We can't. If we get injured at linebacker, that's that's another loss or 2 off the gate.
I'm going to at this time believe that Coach Schiano and his staff, they've got other linebackers that they believe are serviceable. Because if any aspect of our defensive line linebacking core doesn't get pressure or can't stop the run, I don't care how good Cam Miller is. And I think also we have to look into, how are we going to dial up our blitz schemes? Michigan had a great blitz scheme when they won the national title. They disguised blitzes so well, delayed them so effectively that it confused opposing quarterbacks. So I'm interested to see how they're thinking about scheming up our defense to compensate for some potential weaknesses.
So, Jason, when you say the linebackers will be fine, I guess in general, when you say fine, what's your definition of that? Because we're going to get exposed one way or another in certain games, and that's just the way every team is. And to me, the rest of the defense actually holds up pretty well. And so when you say the linebackers will be fine, and I think that's our biggest weakness on defense, I'm really wondering what you would consider the rest of the defense. And Adam, what do you think? Do you think the linebackers are the weakest part of the defense? Because to me, that's even with Jabome, I think that is, and Moses Walker too, I think that's the weakest part.
I think it's too early to tell because we don't know how the transfers on the defensive line are going to gel as a group. But on paper right now, based on what I'm seeing, a lack of depth in the linebacking core means, yes, it's probably on paper one of the weakest part. But for everything to work, it has to be, in my opinion, essential. It has to be very good. They have to be very good. And that's what worries me about Rutgers football when we go back to recruiting and everything. Depth. We can't worry about injuries. We can't put too much on one player. Like even Kyle Monangai last year. My gosh, how many carries did he have? Even in some games, like against that USC game, man, he was a workhorse. But, the Ohio States can lose players and it's a next man up mentality. We don't have that yet. I think we will in the future potentially. But I do think somebody who we don't know or who has not played a lot is going to have to step up and be a star this year.
Yeah, and Ignacio, I tend to agree with you with the linebackers a little bit more than Jason in this regard. And I'm not saying Walker doesn't have the talent to be better than what we've had recently. I just don't know if we get injured, what's it looking like? Because you look at this, I've already talked about how the D-line can be pretty much replaceable besides O'Neal, who's irreplaceable. When you look at the secondary, right, maybe the safety spot is a little thin outside of Chris Joines being a backup to Elad. I don't know how Jesse Afuri is going to do. If any of the other corners would transfer over to safety if they get injured. So you can make the argument that they're the thinnest, but I think that the linebacker core, when you look at the backups, Sam Robinson and Al-Shadi Salam are okay, but nobody else is really ready to step on that field, in my opinion, out of the linebacker core when you look at the backups.
Yeah, and, Gabe, when I think of the linebackers, I think of speed. How fast are they? They're gonna, what's their lateral moving quickness? Because that's going to be essential too. So yeah, on paper it's the weakest, but it's equally as important to the defensive success. So we'll see. Now, what about the secondary? Well, when I think of the secondary, I think on paper we've got Jet Elad from UNLV, Cam Miller from Penn State. But how are we going to scheme up our defense to protect the D-backs, but also to allow some man-to-man at times? But how are we going to scheme up the overall defense to make sure we're getting pressure, make sure that what's the ideal scheme is what I'm asking to mitigate our weaknesses and highlight our strengths?
It's interesting you asked that because I was thinking earlier Cam Miller would be the nickelback, but our lads has Jacoby Henderson as the nickelback with Michael Robinson backing him up, and Cam Miller as the left cornerback. Bo Masco as the right.
Yeah.
So, I guess that I'm already seeing a little differently than Shiano or our pair of defensive coordinators, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong and I'm right. There's a reason that they're hired, and there's a reason why President Tate is going so far or going above and beyond in the future, rather, because I guarantee he will, to keep the core coordinators. That's a tongue twister. Aboard this ship. So when you look at the secondary, it's a little bit scrambled. So it's kind of unpredictable. what kind of schemes do you want from them? You said that they're open to more man-on-man opportunities this year, but do you think that the loss of longer beam is worse than the gain of Cam Miller?
No, I think it's probably a wash, and that's fine. I think Cam Miller may be even a little bit better, but it's too early to tell. But it goes back to we have to be able to get pressure with 4 and disrupt the quarterback's timing. If we don't do that, and the running backs have to be fast and be able to drop in coverage and play reasonably well, or else the defense is not going to hold up. It's just not over 4 quarters. So what I would recommend, and I'm not a football coach, so take it for what it's worth, would be a 4-2-5 defense. I think that balances our ability to stop the run.
No outside linebackers?
Yes, in the base 4-2-5, no, but of course there'll be different variations. But I think we've got to have a solid 4, and we've got to have 2 backers who are going to contribute to stopping the run and who can cover. Then we've got five people in the backfield, 2 safeties, 2 corners, and Jason. Okay. So I wasn't off. I was ignorant because I should have known that. But Jason just pointed out that we do run a 4-2-5. So okay, that makes sense to me.
It's interesting, though, because you would think the 4 in question would, in this instance, be O'Neal, W. Eli, Denegohi, and Bradley Weaver. But then you're leaving Moses Walker off the table and Abram Wright. But it's interesting because, to me, it makes sense because the 5 in question, Cam Miller, Jet Elod, Kaj Sanders, Bo Masco, Jacoby Henderson, and if you want to throw in some variables between Shady Salam and Chris Joins, that's deeper. That's deeper to me than the outside linebacker core. So I honestly would be in favor of continuing that. It's just a matter of Moses Walker being too good to not be in for every play.
Yeah. And one thing that's good about the depth, though, is that I think in this scheme, the defensive linemen play a 2-gap scheme. I believe that's what they do, which requires them to be extraordinarily technically sound. And with the depth we have, I think that's going to enhance our ability to do that because a 2-gap scheme is not easy. So that's what, again, the scheme has the potential to highlight our strengths, but the execution is going to be what's critical. So that's why I keep coming back to the defensive line. But we shall see. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, certainly. And it's interesting when you think about would the 2 be 2 middle linebackers, or would it be a middle linebacker and a wide linebacker? But in that instance, there's a gap. There's a gap on the other side.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a football coach, but I'm guessing that the way they would line up would be depending on how they fit the offense. So they're seeing how the offense lines up. And they're going to have to fit what they see, like a kind of like pattern matching defense that Saban used. So I think it's going to require the players to make smart decisions at the line of scrimmage to fit the offensive scheme.
Yeah. The only thing is, in this formation, we're going to have to see a lot of cornerback blitzes, because that's how you make up for the hole on the other side.
Right. You're leaving yourself vulnerable. And with any scheme, there's going to be vulnerability. But I do think that what it does is it takes away the middle of the field if it's executed correctly. And when you take away the middle of the field for a quarterback,
oh yeah,
it puts so much more pressure on him. You're not going to see a pass like you saw from Illinois. I mean,
I thought you were going Drew Aller 100%.
No, Drew Aller, I joke about Drew Aller, but if you're going to stop Drew Aller, you got to take away the middle of the field. But most importantly, to stop Drew Aller, you got to get him thinking faster than he wants to, like Notre Dame did when he threw the interception.
And, this segment's not about our offense, but that's a fear, right? With Ethan, is if he has to think quickly, is he going to make the right play?
Well, 2 things. If your timing is thrown off, if you're confused by the scheme, check it down or throw it away. and don't try to make a play. Live for tomorrow, because I think what hurt us against Nebraska and what hurt us really against not a lot of teams, but a good number of teams was the little things, the little mistakes that ultimately pile up.
Yeah, no more little mistakes this year because that was like a 3 or 4 game swing.
Absolutely. Jason O mentioned Flip Dixon. Flip Dixon, I want to see this comment. Flip Dixon. Okay, yeah. Like Dixon last year seemed to me to be really, really talented, but uncharacteristically got beat. Would you agree?
No, yeah, and that's what I'm afraid the Jets are going to have with Brandon Stevens this year. But it's not about him, but that's just what I see.
Yeah.
I mean, are you a believer in the football name idea? Like, if a guy has a good name, like you see the future with them, or like, is there any truth to that? Because I don't think Flip Dixon is a very good football name.
There may not be technical truth to it, but I gotta tell you, when I hear the name Jack Lambert, I think that's going to be a badass linebacker.
That's what I think of Moses Walker, though. Moses Walker just sounds like a sick linebacker name.
It does. It really does. But on the flip side of it, when you hear Ethan Kaliakmanis, you probably don't think he's the next John Elway. But hey, he's got potential, man. He's got an arm, and he could really shine this year if he improves consistency and accuracy, which I have a feeling he knows that and has been working on it. We're going to see a really, really good quarterback this year.
Yeah. And this, again, nothing to do with the segment, but I'm really excited to see what AJ Surratt is going to do in not just 26, but more importantly, 27 and 28, because he's going to have some really good weapons.
He's a legit backup, and in that spring game, did really well against that first-string defense. So a bright future for Rutgers. Well, that does end our third segment of the evening. Gabe, some great discussions, great pick updates. We've got some really strong opinions on who's going to be making the all Big Ten list. And, hey, all eyes are going to be on the defense as we move forward to that opening game. Gabe, any final thoughts?
I just can't wait for the season to be here so that I have no notes whatsoever and everything I say is irrational, arrogant, or depressing. And that's the beauty of sports, is that you don't need notes in front of you. You just need your mind and your ability to speak your thoughts. And I am so excited.
Absolutely. And I'm just excited to keep supporting Rutgers and helping Rutgers to be
one other thing. Jared Smith, please do not flip on us. Oh my God. You started this whole movement, Jared. Do not flip on us, please.
Yeah, Ignacio, thanks so much. Yeah, please do not flip. But I think, what's the goal here? I would love to see us make the playoffs at some point in the next 2 years, 3 years. I think there is a possibility. Now, is it going to happen for sure? I don't know, but it's exciting to be a part of Rutgers football, to really support the players in this program. And we're going to keep doing so every week at 7 o'clock in the evening. If you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. We thank you all so much for being here, for your great comments, and for your support. We will see you back here next Monday at 7 a.m., and I will be in New Jersey for the month of July. So I'll be doing the show from New Jersey. Gabe, thanks again for everything. Go Scarlet Knights.
Go Scarlet Knights. Use hashtag VOCFB on Instagram, TikTok, and X for your chance to be featured. See y'all next week.
Take care.